Welcome back, everybody, to Cool Times Podcast, where we talk all things cool about the cold storage construction industry. We are your hosts, Jenna and Vince Free. Joining us today is a legend.
Yes.
I call him a legend. He's my boy, dude. He's founder and president of AM King. He's an entrepreneur, blogger, speaker. I'm sure you've seen him on LinkedIn. The one and only Mr. Brian King.
Yay. Welcome, Brian.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
It's so good to see you.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm excited about it. I've been following it along on social media and LinkedIn. And congratulations on what you're doing. You guys have really come a long way with this. So I'm excited to be here and excited to be your guest and looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, our agents had to beat up on your agents to get you on the show. You know, you're a hard guy to pin down.
Well, your people call my people and they call my other people, and then we just see what we got going on.
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
I love it.
I'm glad we got there.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Brian King?
You kind of introduced it there, from a professional perspective. I founded AM King. Hopefully most of your listeners at least know of the company.
Mm-hmm.
But I founded that company in 2004, and I still run the day-to-day operations of that company, which sort of brings us into this cold storage industry that you guys are involved with. So that's my day job. That's what I do day to day. But I've got some other interests as well. As you said, Vince, I have some other entrepreneurial interests. Some of them are related to what we do in the world of design and construction and food facilities. Some are related to other businesses, other aspects, real estate, some of those sort of things. So
Sure.
But just doing a lot of different things. And as you said, I do enjoy writing. I write from time to time about usually career-related topics, sometimes industry-related topics. I get the opportunity to speak from time to time at university levels, different industries, events. And every now and then I get really lucky and somebody will ask me to be a guest on their podcast.
Hey.
So that's where we're at today. So I guess that kind of sums up who I am from a professional level now, and very, very fortunate, very blessed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about cold storage, because that is a lot of who our crowd is. Tell us how you and then AM King kind of had your cool entrance into specifically cold storage.
So, and maybe we start a little bit with AM King.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like I said, I started the company in 2004, and I was a senior executive with a large global firm, and I was running one of their a large global construction firm, and I was running one of their business units, and that business unit was primarily focused on, or it was 100% focused almost on the industrial markets, with also a focus on the food markets. So when I started AM King, I kind of said, okay, what do I want this company to be? And obviously there were two big components of who I was as a professional. Number one, it was the industrial and the food markets, because that's where, for lack of better words, that's where my resume was. That's where my experience was. And the other thing that I really have always spent my career in is design build. So meaning that, I've always managed both the design and the construction aspect of the projects that myself or my teams were involved with. So when I started AM King, I said, we're going to be a very niche company. We're going to be a pure design build company, and we're going to have a strong focus on the food industry. So just like what you guys did a few years ago, you open the door and you get the business card made and you start a website, and all of a sudden you're in business. And so, okay, what do we do now?
We did.
But, one of the things I think that we're most proud of at our company is that we really stood by that focus, is that, we said we're going to be design build, and we said we're going to focus on the food industry. And that's what we did. So today, our sort of our motto is, from a design build perspective, is if we don't design it, we don't build it. And if we don't build it, we don't design it. So we always do the two together. And also, I would say roughly 80% of what we do is in the food industry. The other 20% is in the industrial markets. We've got some large industrial clients that just had long-term relationships with, and we do some other industrial work from time to time for other clients. But really 80% of what we do is in that food market. So as you guys know, if it's a food facility, it's probably refrigerated. I mean, just about everything, whether it's obviously food processing, food manufacturing, certainly food distribution, food storage, it's going to be cold. So really, when I say 80% of what we do is food, the large percent of what we do has a cold component, all the way from, blast freezing of 4 below zero up to banana rooms and avocado rooms at 55 degrees.
It's a controlled environment.
We really did start the company with that focus of going into the food industry. And then when you do that, you really start, working with and interacting with companies like Freeze Construction and some of those other folks that you've been talking to on this podcast, and all the pieces and parts that go into these controlled environment facilities. So that's really kind of how we got the intro. I think we are a little different than some companies that, that focus purely on the cold storage industry and certainly, like your business model where you're focusing on a very important component of the cold storage industry or the food industry. But that's really how we got into it, and that's continues to be our business plan today. That continues to be our market strategy.
It's working.
It's working.
It is. It's an interesting concept because when you talk to people about it, the sort of the first time dinner you have with somebody, and it's what do you do? What do you do? Here's what I do. And the first thing I would say is a large sort of build firm. They say, okay, how many houses a year do you build? It's like, well, we don't build houses. Everybody kind of, for some reason, they all go to residential. Say, schools, office buildings. No. Let's say, well, we do the food market, and you start sort of drilling down into this niche market, and you realize how unique it really is, and how niche it really is. So, I agree, it is working, but it also takes a real strong focus to stay there, because there's so much I say emphasis in our world today of growth in a company, and chasing revenues, and how big can you make this organization, how many people do you have working for you, what are your profit levels going to be. And when you decide to focus on a niche market like we have, and like you guys are as well, eventually your growth is going to be limited. Right. Sure. You can only go, so there's only so many food facilities in the United States. And we got a handful of competitors. You know who they are. We know who they are. There are going to be some limiting factors too. So, when I talk to these people at the dinners, and they're sort of, again, the what do you do and what I do, it baffles some of them to sort of say, like, that's all you do. You don't build these other things. You don't design and build these other type of buildings. And you say, nope, that's not what we do.
Exactly.
This is our world, and this is how we run.
Your business is scaled, and as business owners, we really like looking at like the big picture and see how you've done it. I mean, we're learning as we grow now, and you've already lived through it. Where you started to where you were in the middle to where you are now, like, can you tell us about that? Like how you scaled and grew your company from here to here?
Well, and then on top of that too, like, how do you know when you want to stop, right? Because like you said, there's this emphasis on growth and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, when do we stop? When do you know?
Yeah, those are really good questions. And you all asking those questions, what's it been now, about 5 years that you guys started your entrepreneurial ventures?
3.
Well, it probably seems like 20, right?
It does.
Seems like I'm ready to retire.
But those are questions that real entrepreneurs who have transitioned into business owners and business managers start asking, because they're really good questions. Because when you start the company, you just kind of feel like, you're a little overwhelmed, but you think the stars are out there and you can reach for the stars, and boy, I can do all these different things. Then when you get into it, you start seeing the challenges and the difficulties. And one of those biggest challenges and difficulties is managing growth. And how do you manage that growth within the organization? Because, I tell people it's really, really easy to become an entrepreneur. It is really simple to start a business.
That's true. Yeah.
It's really difficult to own and run a business.
Yes.
And as the owner, to run the business as the owner. But, from our perspective, what we've done is we're a very strategically focused company. So every year we actually did a couple times a year, one big time and one's kind of an update, but we do a strategic planning process with members of our organization. We talk about what's going on in the organization. We talk about where we want to be. We talk about what we want to accomplish. But even backing up further than that, in 2015, we put together what we called, at that time, we called it a 10-year vision. And now we call it the 2025 vision. And we're sort of coming to the end of that.
Yes.
But one of the top item on that vision was a number. And we said, we're going to be at this revenue level by 2025. But I think the difference for us was not that we want to achieve this number. We never said this is the number we want to be at. What we said is when we get to that number, we want to be able to manage it. So we've kind of said, okay, where do we think this business is going to go? Where are our clients going to take us? Where's the market going to take us? Where are, as you hire employees, some of those employees come in and they're very entrepreneurial themselves. They want to get out there and sell work and grow a sector of the business. They want to bring new clients. So where are our employees going to take us? So bit of a, you're shooting a little bit in the dark, but what's that target we're going to be at 5 years from now and 10 years from now? Not what target do we want to be at, but where do we think we're going to, where do we think we're going to be? And when we get there, what do we need to do to successfully manage our business at that level? What do we need from a resources perspective? What do we need from capital perspective? How many people do we need? What expertise level do we need? Infrastructure do we need? Software or training or whatever. And that's really how we've grown the business. And I will tell you, it's a different way of looking at a business than most people will tell you. They say, go for the growth, go for the dollars. That's never been our goal. Our goal has been to grow the business and to really be able to do what we do very well, but to be able to manage the business as it grows. And that's really sort of what's happened, is our clients and the market has allowed the business to grow. And fortunately, I think looking back on it, we've been able to manage that growth throughout the years.
Now, it's funny you say that, because it's not all about the revenue. It's not all about the money and the end of your dollar. But when you first start up a company and you write a business plan and you have projections and banks want to see projections, it is all about the numbers in the beginning. It's just, and then all of a sudden when you start getting there, you start realizing it's actually not about the numbers, right? Like you had said. So we're living that right now.
Yeah. The numbers, if you're a good company, you're doing a good job and you're providing a quality product or a quality service or both to your clients, you've got a strong reputation, the numbers will take care of themselves. They may not be, exactly what you want them to be. There's going to be some years where they're a little better and a little worse than other years. But at the end of the day, the numbers will take care of themselves. So yeah, to your point, Vince, it's the numbers are a result. It's not about the numbers. It's about doing everything else that needs to be done to make the business successful. And that'll get you to the numbers, and that'll get you to the financial success. But when you've got all those other pieces in place, you absolutely get there.
Yeah.
Such good information.
It's great information. And a lot of people from the outside looking in, they look at A.M. King, they look at Brian King and like, this guy's successful. This guy runs a successful company. He's a successful individual. But to you, success, I bet, means many different things. What does success mean to you?
That's a really loaded question.
Welcome.
No, I think there's two answers. There's the professional success answer, and then there's a personal success.
Sure.
On the personal success, as you guys know, y'all know, my wife, and about my family, and we've got 5 adult children that live, all 5 live in different cities in the United States.
Yes.
So part of our personal success is obviously having that strong family, and going through the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows. And we were talking about a little bit beforehand of one of my children that's in the process of buying his first house, and how much fun that is for us. And so certainly the family piece is a level of personal success. It's having friends in the industry and outside of the industry that you enjoy those relationships with, and you're able to interact with, and like the relationship that my wife and I have with you guys when we see y'all at events and other things, and just having those friendships. So and other personal things that I won't touch on, but that's the personal success. I think for professional success, it's a little bit of the same thing. But when I look at my professional success, I really like to look at the people within our organization and the people that our organization impacts. And so, we've got roughly 60, 65 employees within AM King.
Wow.
And, it's small enough that I know all of them. We just brought in like 7 new interns. So I'm kind of going through and like, okay, which one are you? But eventually we'll get there. But, I'm the folks that work at AM King, I know them. I know, about their personal lives. I know about their family, but more importantly, that we can provide for them an environment where they can, grow their careers. They can seek opportunity. They have a good place where, they're fulfilled in their work. Work defines a lot, right? It can define where you live. It can define, how you spend your time. It can define your social circles. It can define your personal satisfaction that you're getting from a job well done, or accomplished, or a promotion. Or it certainly has an impact on your financial life.
Yes.
If I can create an environment at AM King and in our other companies that allows individuals to feel fulfilled and have meaningful careers, I really feel success. I really feel like I've done something. If our company can have a positive impact upon our clients and upon our vendors and suppliers and subcontractors, that's what I want as well. So I want our suppliers and our vendors to say, this is a good company to work with. I want our clients to say, wow, AM King makes my job easier. AM King allows me to expand my business or to create business opportunities. And so, for me, that's really, it's the impact you have on others, and how much you can control that impact by being a business owner, or the CEO or the president, or whatever your role is, or even just if you're a manager and you're managing 3 people, what's the impact you have upon those 3 people. So, also professional success. I mean, the fact that I can go to SEBA and I can see people there, and, you don't just give them a handshake, you give them a hug, and, you build up those relationships over years and years in the industry. That's professional success. So that's what it means to me at the end of the day, to say that, hopefully I'm being successful from a professional and a personal perspective.
Brian King's turning handshakes into hugs.
I love it.
Handshakes and hugs, man.
Handshakes into hugs, baby.
I love it.
That's a good line, though. We need to remember that. Turning handshakes.
Well, good news is this is being recorded, so we'll circle back to this. Handshakes.
Somebody's going to steal it from us. You'll see somebody's Twitter handle and say handshakes.
Yeah, turning handshakes into hugs. That should be your new tagline for your blog and your, have you? Okay, you said you like books. You're writing. How many have you published any books yet?
No, so I've not done a book yet. I do a couple of types of writing. Actually, I tell you, the writing thing's interesting. I'm a few years ago, I realized as the company got bigger that writing would be a good way for me to communicate with folks at AM King, because we got it being what the business we're in, the food industry. Our projects are all over the United States. You know that, right? That's the deal in our industry. You're all over the United States. So I can't go to every project. I can't interact with every superintendent or project engineer or project manager that's out on these sites. And certainly I see them at the Christmas party or the one time a year or whatever, go to the project. So how can I communicate with these folks? And so I started doing a sort of a regular email, and our company will call it the exchange. And it kind of varies how often I do it. We're probably 10 to 12 a year. Let's call it once a month on average. Mm-hmm. And I use it now for making announcements, et cetera. But I started writing those a few years ago and found that I kind of enjoy putting my thoughts on paper or my ideas, and to be able to share stuff, and not just to say to be more than just presenting the facts, to say, okay, here's why this year was such a good year. Here's what you have done to make this a good year. Or let's talk about, if I want to share with them what I see as a trend that we need to be aware of. Here's why I see that. And I started getting a lot of back of saying, hey, I enjoy this and you should do more writing. So I started doing some blog work, and I created a podcast, a website, my name, briantking.com, and started posting blogs out there. And that started getting some traction, and we started getting subscribers. And unfortunately, writing a blog is a lot of work.
Yes,
it is consistently. So, but in response to that, I started having some publications reach out to me and say, would you write on this topic, or would you write on that topic? So now I've got I get to write about a specific topic, and all of my writing has really been focused primarily in two arenas. One, very industry focused. So that would be, design, build, construction, site selection, something to do with what we do as a company. Mm-hmm. And then the other aspect has been sort of with career development. So, how to manage your way through a career. So take a specific topic, for example, and write on that. So that's the majority of writing that I'm doing right now. It's really, I call it not magazines because everything's online right now, but I'll get these requests, and I'll do I just did one recently based on a lecture I gave at Clemson University about how to be an excellent project manager. And there's an online magazine called Groundbreak Carolinas, which focuses on the design and construction industry in the Carolinas. And we took that presentation and we turned it into an article that was just published recently. So I've not done a book yet. I mean, a book is a lot of work. To write a book
It is, but maybe.
Yeah, it's on the horizon. I got a few other things right now I got to get taken care of. It's sort of taking some time.
Can we call your book Turning Handshakes into Hugs?
I'll take it under consideration. No problem.
I mean, it's really not a bad name.
maybe a chapter will be Handshakes.
Ooh, I like that. Much better.
Much
better.
That's awesome.
Well, that's exciting. We can't wait till we can say author as part of your intro.
Book author, you're right, exactly. Looking forward to that. So yeah, I just got a few other things I gotta get off the shelf first and get done. So, but then we'll get back to focusing on the book.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Brian, can you tell me, we do this with all of our guests, and we like to know if you have a cool story or a cool moment from your career that you'd like to share with us. And this cool moment will be brought to us by our friends at Versafoam.
Yeah, Mr. Peter Bartell.
Yes.
He's sponsoring this one, Brian. So if you want to bring Peter into the story, you can. But
no, I will not bring Peter Bartell in a story that's going to be
Yeah, let's keep Peter Bartell out of this story. All right.
Yeah. So, I think the most I've done or experienced in the past few years was, we've heard me use terms as founder and president of AM King, but I've not really called myself the owner of AM King because I'm no longer the owner of AM King. A year and a half ago, AM King officially was converted to an employee-owned company in ESOP. And I started working on that. Yeah.
That's
Congrats,
exciting.
brother. That's awesome.
It is exciting. And I started working on that 2 years prior. So I've got, four or so years sort of, been messing around with this thing and doing this conversion. Because when I did that, I was the sole owner of AM King, and I love owning the company. I love owning companies, period. I mean, that's just, if you ask me what I really like doing and what my passion is entrepreneurship. But I'll be 60 in September, and I did not want a couple things. Number one, I did not want to be that 70-year-old person wondering what to do with their company, and trying to figure it out before, when I'm too old. So I definitely wanted to create an ownership transition plan. So that was certainly in the cards. But the other thing that I'm really excited about, and I've talked a lot about the folks that work with me at AM King and that I get the pleasure of working with. Number one, they want more and more responsibility, and they wanted more and more of the company. And I don't want to say they were pushing me away, but they were pushing me away. I make a joke that when I go to a job site, the superintendent has one responsibility when I'm there, and that's to figure out where to take me to lunch. That's, other than that, because I'm not going to walk around that project and say, hey, you need to fix this. Tell me about your schedule. I'm there to see the project and to see the people. So, and the fact of the matter is our teams do such a great job. They don't need my help on things like that. So we inked the deal December, trying to remember here, December of 20, or not remember, but get my numbers straight. December of 21, we inked the deal. December of 20, we inked the deal. Okay. So 21 was our first full year as 100% employee owned. So now we're into 22, and we're still sort of maneuvering through that. The first year and a half or so, you're kind of figuring out. But what's been really cool about it, to use your term, is the cultural impact of the company.
Okay.
You just tell that people have, I don't want to call it a renewed sense, because we had a great culture to begin with, but you can tell there's a level of ownership, for lack of better words, and the literal ownership takes time. It's an ongoing process. But this figurative ownership that they've taken on has been phenomenal, and to watch that has really been cool. And that means they're continuing to push me away a little bit, and which is good, because now maybe I have time to write that book. But they're taking on more responsibility, taking on with the company. They're taking more accountability to the company, and they were always accountable folks. Just a differential that's been happening. And when you're going through that process, so the 2 years I was going through and analyzing that, it's like anything else. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I really ready for this? I mean, I was 57, 58. I'm a young guy, relatively speaking. Am I doing this too soon? And, how's it going to change? And you do it, and you get so deep into it that there's no track, right? So then the papers come, sign papers, and the day it happened, you appreciate this. The day we did it, actually not the day we signed, but the day I fully announced it to the company. I did it through a Teams. This is during COVID time. Did it through a Teams meeting, and I had myself and my attorney, or the attorney who handled the ESOP, in a room. Everybody else was on the screen, like what we are now. And we spent like 2 hours, and I explained to everybody. I sent an email a few days before, so they knew what was going on, and we explained how the ESOP would work. Answered all their questions. It'd be like 2-hour deal. And, everybody was commenting. It all actually became kind of emotional. And so it ended around, 1:00. And Jen, my wife, I called her up after. I said, let's go to lunch. And we went down to my local lunch place, and we're sitting there having lunch. And she said, that was a big deal. And I said, yeah. She said, how do you want to celebrate? I said, I think I want to get some pancakes for lunch. So that was my celebration dinner with at my local dive that I go to for lunch every day. And instead of having, salmon and vegetables, the healthy lunch, I had blueberry pancakes and syrup. And as we're eating, or as I'm eating my pancakes, I think it was somebody called. It was either one of the kids or somebody in the family called, and to Jen's phone. And she picks up the phone, and they said, how did it go? And she said, it was great. And Jen said, I started crying during the whole thing, and all he's doing is sitting here is eating pancakes. I don't know what you want me to do. I've been dealing with
it. Yeah. Pancakes. So. I mean, Jenna and I would have done something different, like a bottle of really nice red wine and, champagne or something. But I love pancakes.
I love pancakes too.
French toast and pancakes.
That was my celebration dinner.
I love it.
That is Brian Kingdom in a nutshell, dude.
Yes,
that
but
is
congratulations.
Awesome. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
incredible.
I love the idea and concept of ESOPs. I mean, the employee stock ownership program, you are literally giving every single person in that company ownership. So they have skin in the game. Every job, everything they do could impact the profitability of the company, and it's their profit. It's their money, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
At no cost to them, right?
No cost to them.
I mean, they're owners of the company, and it's gifted to them. I mean, obviously it's sweat equity to a degree.
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, it's such a great concept, and it's got to be the right company, and it's got to be the right team, and competitors, private equity, that sort of thing. And Vince, you're part of an ESOP at a previous employer, so you know what's involved. Yep. And I just like it was the right path to go. And some of our mutual friends obviously helped me make that decision as well, that have done some other things. So, and gave me some good advice. So
you can say the name, Brian, you can say the name Dean Solar podcast, because
most people do.
We have a drinking game now. When we listen to the podcast back, anytime his name's mentioned, we take a shot at tequila. Unfortunately, it's just coffee today, but tonight maybe I'll have that tequila because his name, of course, got brought up. Of course, so
he's a good friend, and he's a great friend of the industry. So
he is very much so.
And you built a big building for him back in the day. Beautiful building. Beautiful building.
Yeah, we did. So now he's doing well. So excited for him and his family and what's going on with their business. Very good stuff.
Absolutely. So speaking of building, and I know it's funny for all our listeners, we sent out this outline of what we're going to talk about on the show. And I promise you, we have gone from top to bottom to middle to not even talking about our outline at all. And
that's okay.
And I love it. It's just kind of free flowing, and this is great topic and conversation. And I have so much to talk to you about. And I do want to be cognizant of your time, but economy trends, material supply, I guess supply chain issues, if you will, with that. I want to touch on all that. Do you want to talk a little bit about where the economy is, where it's going, trends, all that?
Yeah. Well, obviously, if I could predict the economy, I'd be making a lot more money than I ever made in design and construction. It's interesting right now. As we're all seeing, the supply chain is freeing up a little bit, and that's good. And I think that's going to continue. We're going to continue to see the supply chain ease, and we're going to be able to get materials a little bit more readily available. The big one out there for me is inflation. Actually, there's two big topics, I think, that for me that I'm thinking through. The first one is inflation. Mm-hmm. And I believe inflation, what we're telling our clients now, because they're all asking, when are prices going down? And our response is they're not. They're not going down. What we anticipate is it's just going to stop going up. Now, certainly, gas prices may go a little bit, commodity driven. You guys may see some steel prices or panel prices reduce or some of that type of stuff. But deflation, the opposite of inflation, is worse for the economy than inflation. I mean, deflation means that you've got a real problem in the marketplace when things are plummeting, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other thing that I think is not a real popular opinion, but we have been in a very low inflation market for the past really since the Great Recession of 2008 or so. We haven't seen much inflation, except for the last couple of years. So I don't want to say in any way insinuate it's been positive, but I think it's kind of been, we're kind of, if you will, for some of the inflationary forces. So really what I'm hoping and what I think will happen, some of the other stuff that's going interest rates, that sort of thing, is that inflation will get back to an inflation of whatever, 2.5%, 3%. The question becomes when. But when our clients ask us, are prices going down? Our response is no. So if you're going to build, you still want to build today. You don't want to wait. And we haven't had any clients postpone any projects except for one, and different situation, but I think they're kicking themselves a little bit right now because they did postpone their project that they could have started a couple of years ago, or really about a year and a half ago. But other than that, we haven't had anybody end a project, postpone a project, cancel a project because of inflation. So that is our response. If I'm talking to a client, is that prices aren't going down. We just think that they're going to stop going up so much. But if you're ready to build, go ahead and build. Might as well build now.
Yeah.
So
We've seen it. Yeah. Well, Brian, we've seen it a little bit on our end. I mean, as we're talking to AM King, we're talking to other general contractors, and those GCs have had a few clients kind of pump the brakes on projects because what they budgeted for a $30 million project is now 40. And they're like, man, we're going to have to just sit on this for a little bit. And to your point, I think that's great advice. I think it's, if you're planning on building this, build it.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not my $40 million. So, I don't know
exactly.
the situation,
Yeah. The other thing we're looking at is the recession. I firmly believe, in fact, I was, we talk about publications. I was interviewed recently for a publication, and they asked the exact same question. Tell me one thing you see as it's going to happen in the next 12 months or something. And I said, this is probably 3 months ago. I said, I expect what I call a light recession. And by that, I mean, is that growth is going to slow a little bit. But I think there's this kind of weird silver thing in this recession. Because the one thing that you really worry about in a recession is unemployment. You don't want to see people lose their jobs, right? So a recession happens, companies start laying off, and none of us want to see anybody lose their job. I think that if we have a recession, that the unemployment numbers won't be impacted that much. I think what we might see is some pulling back from spending, some pulling back from growth projections. I don't necessarily see a lot of unemployment increase, and that would be positive.
Yes.
Do think now, Vince, is it going to affect a company like ours, where all of a sudden today we've got whatever, let's call it 10 jobs in the hopper? Are we going to go down to only 8 jobs in the hopper, or 5 or something like that? Possibly. But right now, we all know those 10 jobs in the hopper. I mean, we're scrambling, right? You're like, okay, I got to get this crew done over here to send them over there. I got this superintendent. I mean, so.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you and I, we're microcosms of the economy, right? Our companies. But if you had 1 or 2 less jobs, you're not laying people off. It kind of frees you up to maybe spend a little bit more focus on some of those projects.
That's very true.
So I think that's what's going to happen in the economy. But
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point about employees, and Jenna and I deal with this every day.
Mhm.
Of we are only as strong as our people in the field.
Yes.
Okay, and our field people are an extension. They're phenomenal individuals.
Yes.
I know every one of them by their first and last name. And we're up to 80 guys in the field, and I know them all. I visit these job sites. I want to get in the weeds with these guys and know them. But to your point, there is a labor shortage out there.
Mhm.
And what's happening is everyone's trying to pick at the same people. Everyone's trying to pick at the same people. And it's like, it's crazy. There's recruiters and headhunters, and everyone's trying to pick off from company A to fill in company B. And then company B picks off someone here from company C, and C loses to A. And it's just, it's like this ongoing circle. I can't even keep up anymore on LinkedIn who works for who anymore.
Right.
So it's when is that going to slow down?
Well, and maybe it's not necessarily about when is it going to slow down, but it's how are we going to change and adapt to what's happening.
Bingo.
And
Bingo.
that is what I think, you have to strategize on, is how do you grow from within?
Jenna, you nailed it, because what they do really well is I see them going to college campuses and recruiting young talent and training them and putting blood, sweat, and tears and resources into new people to bring into our arena of cold storage construction. And we're kind of doing the same. I mean, we bring in a lot of young talent that want to be carpenters, and it's a trade, and we teach them.
Yes.
And you develop people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the answer. And you guys are doing a really great job of that, and recruiting from college campuses and doing all that.
There's promoting from within. We don't like hiring senior. We do from time to time. As a general rule, I don't think it's fair to say we don't like doing it. We really don't do it. We really like to recruit from the college level. We like to bring young people in and groom them sort of the AM King way, for lack of better words, and teach them what, how we operate and what our culture is all about. And there's some cons to that. I think what we've learned is you stay at about a 50% hit rate after a few years, because you really, a young man or a young woman. And I will say, we're hiring more and more women out of the university levels as well.
Love it.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
That's awesome.
But a young man or a young woman coming right out of school, they think they know what they want to do, but often that they don't. And one of the things we tell people when we recruit them is you're going to travel, and they say, yeah, I certainly want to travel. We find sometimes that they get out on the road, they don't want to travel, they want to be back home, and
So true.
wherever home is. Some of them, they don't want to do the food stuff and industrial. They want to do more glamorous type of projects. So there's about a 50% rate that we will lose. But the 50% that stays, they tend to be longtime employees. They tend to be dedicated. They're quality individuals. And so then it becomes, the onus becomes on us to, as I said before, create that environment where they can continue to grow and build their career, and they can have opportunities. But now we're big believers in the recruiting at the college level, bringing those young people in and bring them along in their career. But you're right, Vince and Jenna. I mean, it's if we do hit this recession here in the next few months, the key is going to be to how do we strategize to get through it. But I think ultimately it's going to be a little bit better from an employment perspective, because I do believe some of the aggressive hiring practices will end. Some of the aggressive recruitment, among our industry and other industries will end. So we just, my hope is that I feel very strongly we're going to be in a little bit of recession. My hope is that it's in Fed speak, a soft landing, and then we emerge much better. But again, if I knew the answer, then I'd be in the White House right now advising them. They haven't called lately. Their people haven't called my people.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
They haven't contacted your agent yet? Okay.
Not yet.
I'll give them their number.
Yeah, give him my agent's number.
Yeah, I will.
In fact, if you know my agent's number, let me have it, because my agent's not reaching out to me either for some reason.
No,
They
it's your wife, Jen. She's your agent, man.
That's
we
true.
We have your number. She's my
That's
agent.
true.
She tells me exactly what I need to do every day. This is what you have coming up.
Still don't listen.
Yeah. If you exactly, yeah.
How many appointments last week?
It's bad. Yeah. Jenna's like, so you forgot about those 2 appointments? I'm like, ooh, yeah.
We're working on it.
We're working on that.
You get there.
Ben very busy.
You guys are a partnership. Jen and I are a partnership. So yeah. It,
absolutely.
Makes for interesting dynamics at the dinner table.
Sure does.
It certainly does. And we're gonna have to have her on the show too, because we have some other things in the pipe work with Cool Times podcast. So we're gonna have to have her on soon.
We'll call her agent.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to call her agent.
Yeah. And if you know who that person is, let me know that is.
You don't want to know his name.
Yeah, I probably don't.
That's awesome. So let's talk cold storage and construction, and circle back to this, because I guess we're supposed to talk about cold storage construction.
I suppose we should do it.
All our listeners love to hear about trends in the industry for cold storage. What are cold storage trends you see in the next year to 5 years?
Growth. Yeah, I think growth. Mm-hmm. I think the cold chain in general is poised for a lot of growth. So I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. I think that companies like AM King, companies like Freeze, the other folks that are listening to this podcast, and whether I refer to them as our competitors or our colleagues or our vendors or suppliers, I think we're well positioned for some of that growth. So I'm excited about that. I think that's the first trend. I think that our industry, and I'm speaking about the design and the construction industry related to the food industry, I think our industry is becoming much, much more technical and much more focused on expertise. It is not an industry where if you're doing design and construction of office buildings, which is fine. I mean, that's nothing against that. If that's your business model, it's going to be very hard for your organization to migrate into this industry. Not just from a marketing perspective and going out and winning a project, but really from a technical expertise. Because what we are doing, Vince, as you know, in your role as former or past chairman of CEBA, when you were chairman, there's a lot of emphasis on the training and education, and now even certification of people that do what we do. And our customers are going to be looking for that. They're going to want to know, tell me about your skill set, tell me about your talents, tell me about your training, and what do you know about these different type of systems? They're going to not only look at that, they're going to be demanding that. I think that's great. I want to see that, and I want more of that. But I think us that are in the industry now are going to continue to push that. And as we push that, the client base is going to demand that. So I think that's going to be a huge trend, that it's, we're becoming a much more mature industry. So I think that's one big trend I think that we're going to see that's going to happen pretty quickly over the next few years.
It's a great segue, Brian, into my next question. If I'm ABC Food Company and I'm looking at AM King and I sit down with Brian King, why should someone buy from AM King? If I want to build a building, why do we buy from you?
I'm going to turn that around a little bit. So
you're not allowed to do that.
if you're ABC Food Company and you call Brian King in, you say, Brian, I want to interview you and AM King to design and build my 100,000 square foot facility expansion. Say, great, let's talk about that. But then if I walk out the room and the next group that's walking in is somebody that's never built a food facility, I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to call you and I'm going to say, here's the deal. I don't think we're interested anymore. Because if you're interviewing that company, then a couple of things. Number one, you have done no research.
Yep.
But if you've done the research and you're still interviewing them, then you're placing no level of importance on the experience, the skill set, the expertise, the knowledge that our company brings to the table. So if that is not important to you, then we really don't want to work with you. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean that we, it just, you're not our client. So that's one thing that I really look at is, now if you're talking with AM King, and I'm certainly not going to mention any of my competitors' names, but whatever, two of my competitors, then I'm going to walk away going, okay, they know what they're doing, they know who they're talking to, and they've done their research.
Sure.
So then the question becomes, why should we choose AM King over company X and company Y, and company XYZ? Exactly. I think that there's a couple of things that differentiate AM King from other companies, and they're not, some may or some may not. I mean, I think that our ownership structure is an important piece of that. How we deliver our projects. We have the in-house design group, and the fact that we are fully integrated from a design build. We only design what we build. We only build what we design. Those aren't really differentiators. I mean, some of my competitors have that, some don't. They've got other things. Really, what we're looking for in a client, and I want our clients to look for in us, is who do they feel they have the highest level of trust in as an organization to deliver their facility, who they feel is going to be the most accountable, who do they feel is going to be the most responsible. We use the term in our business and our company a lot of personal responsibility. That project manager or that superintendent or that project engineer or that designer, whoever, when they're working on that project for their client, that they have a strong sense of personal responsibility to that project, to that client. However you want to describe it. They take it home with them. They own it. They believe in it. It's not just a job and they're just trying to, cross some T's and dot some I's. That they really want that project to be the best project it can be. That client get the best result that they can get. So what I'm really looking for in a client is that they have that same level of responsibility that they feel for their project, and they see us as a true partner. Because if you don't, our business is so difficult and our projects are so difficult. It's really hard to do what we do. To design and to build a highly complex building that's going to have most likely USDA requirements. It's going to have certain sanitation requirements. It's going to have to be able to stay at 38.5 degrees 24/7, 365 days a year. All of these things that that you're not going to have sweat on the building. You're not going to have a floor slab that heaves. You're not. The system. I mean, there's so many things that go into the type of buildings we build. They're hard. They're really hard. They're really difficult. And you need to really have a true partnership. So that's what we're looking for in a client, and that's what we want the client to look for in us. And if they don't see that, maybe not that they don't see that in us, but if they see that one of our competitors, they feel more comfortable, then my response is go with that competitor, because it's your building. I mean, that's what we want. So we want that sort of relationship with those customers. So, that's what we're trying to present when we go in and we meet with people, is how do we instill that into that customer? How do we present that? How do we bring forward, sort of what our culture and what our philosophy is as we approach these projects?
Yeah. And much like our business, we rely heavily on our field manpower to be an extension of us. They're bleeding our colors in the field, right? They're putting out that final product for us. As project managers, when we manage a job, if Freeze construction is only good as our crew on site that is going to, build a badass building. Okay. I think that has a lot to do with general contractors. I think some GC, you know what? I personally feel GCs are, a portion of their success is what subs they bring in. Okay. And how does that sub perform on the job? And I'll tell you one thing, if you take care of your subs and you treat them fair and you communicate and you have great communication and
What's that same partnership idea? It's the same
Yeah.
partnership. If you have a
But-
partnership with your client,
Yeah.
partnership with
Mhm.
your subcontractors, like it's all about like, I think that's what makes projects really successful is when you can build those partnerships on all of those different levels.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll land the plane there. And what I was circling.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. So really what I wanted to say is we're very fortunate and blessed to be able to do a project with you. guys.
Yes.
And thank you, by the way.
Mhm.
And one thing I noticed in that project is how well you guys communicated with us and all the subs and how fair you were and how you took care of them. And when you're someone that really takes care and treats your subs right, they will do whatever it takes, bend over backwards,
Mhm.
do things probably that should be change orders for free and just go all in. And when you got guys going all in for you, like you have great subs that go all in for you. Man, that speaks volumes. And that's what
And it speaks volumes to that culture
Mhm.
that has been created through AmKing, not only for their clients,
Yeah.
not only for your employees within, but with the partners that you work with outside of the company as well. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look,
It was-
AM King doesn't build anything. It's our subcontractors that build it.
You
We
build
manage-
relationships,
you
man.
build relationships.
You're right. We build it. So we are wholly dependent upon our subcontractor base, our subcontractors, our suppliers, and our builders. So absolutely, we have to have those strong relationships. And sometimes we fail. We don't do it as well as we should, and we try to correct. That's the basis of who we have a good network of companies that support us and support what we're trying to do for our clients and our customers. Absolutely, has to be. It's interesting. I'm going to go down another road here, but as y'all know, I'm building a house right now in the Charleston area where I live, and for whatever reason, I decided to build this house myself. So I'm serving as my own contractor, and so we're out of the ground on this house, and I've been at a bit of a disadvantage because the sub market and the subs are in a residential market are different. I'm starting fresh, right? So I'm calling concrete subcontractors and framing subcontractors and all these different subcontractors. And they don't know who I am, but they know I'm not a residential builder. They think I'm just some guy building a house. And we all know that, if you do not know construction, advice to your listeners, if you are not in the construction world, do not try to build your own house.
Mm-mm.
I've been in the construction world for 40 years, and it's hard for me to build my own house. And I started out as a carpenter in housing construction when I was in college. So I'm calling these subs, and they don't know me. And half of them, more than half, won't even call me back.
Yeah.
Call them up, and I say, I want to talk to you about doing my concrete work. So what I'm finding is the ones that I'm talking to, obviously, are the ones that call me back. And when they come out and we have the conversation, I sort of hint to them, or not hint, I tell them my background and say, I'm a general contractor by trade. I'm a carpenter by trade, sort of know what I'm doing. And you can see in their eyes a little bit, okay, sure. But then as we go through the process and I sign them up and they start doing the work, the project is really being run very efficiently, very smoothly. And now to the person, they come up to me and they say, this project was great. I mean, when you told me to be there and we were going to start work, we started work. And we had a schedule and we had materials and inspections were taken care of. And they said, you really do know what you're doing.
Did you make a schedule?
Of course he did.
Sort of, kind of. But but my point of saying all this is that, but once you do prove yourself and you show that you are efficient and you're organized and you know what you're doing, they love working on your projects, to your point, because they're telling me, you know, I've got this residential general contractor I've been working for 10 years. And every time he tells me to show up on Monday and they're not ready and I got to come back the next Monday. Or I get something done and they don't have the materials I need. And so the comments of that, you know, we kind of felt like we came on your project and things were organized and well run was huge to us because we can kind of get in and get out. And at the end of the day, that's how we make money. We get in, we do our work and we go away. Kind of the basis of, you know, being successful in construction. Get in, do the work, go away. And don't have to come back, right? I mean,
Pretty much.
pretty simple concept. But yeah, it's really been interesting because I've been out of this residential market. Like I said, the last time I did, I was in college. And so I've been out of it a long time and getting back. I'm going to use the word easy. How easy it is if you've got the right subcontractors and you can give them the right environment to work in to where that makes them successful. So yeah, there I digressed a little bit, but I know that it had nothing to do with cold storage.
That's okay. It has to do with your life, and it's like an exciting thing.
It's a great story.
Yeah. When is it scheduled to be completed?
Well, Jenna, you know, not everything in the schedule is totally tied down. If you ask my owner, she would be very frustrated in telling you that I've not given her a firm completion date. But,
you don't have a substantial completion date?
So right now I'm saying early 23.
early 2023.
So I've got a 6-month window there, Vince.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I think we're probably spring of 23 is what we're thinking. So probably mid-spring of 23 we'll be moving it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure talking to you today and sharing all this fun stuff about the cold storage industry, your personal life, your writing, your blogs, your potential book, handshakes into hugs, you know. but we're to our final segment. And
well, real quick before we jump into the final segment, if people want to find out more about AM King or more about Brian King, where could they go for that information?
Yeah. So, you know, AM King has actually a really strong social media presence. We're very active on LinkedIn. Okay. We post on LinkedIn probably about once a day. So just go to LinkedIn and search AM King or AM King Group. We also have an Instagram account that we post on pretty regularly. We do Twitter every now and then, not so much. Our website address is amkinggroup.com. That's where you really find out.
amkinggroup.com.
That's where you'll find out about King. For Brian King, I'm on LinkedIn as well. I post on LinkedIn probably a couple of times a week. A lot of us doing likes and that sort of thing. And but if I've written an article or something, you'll find that on LinkedIn as well. I have a website called Brian T. King, BrianTKing.com. That was my blog website, and that's where you can find a lot of those writings as well. So really, it's LinkedIn and BrianTKing.com. That's where you find out information. So thank you for asking about that, Jenna.
And thank you for letting our listeners know where they can find that. So Vince, on to your favorite segment.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Brian, I'm sure you know what's coming up next year. We have our cool rapid round question to end our lovely talk here today. So we're going to ask you this or that questions, and you can't pick both. You got to pick one or the other. Got to be quick. And this one is brought to you by our good friends Versafoam. So you ready, bud?
Thank you, Versafoam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. Jogging or hiking?
I hate jogging. That's an easy one.
All right. Bath or shower?
Shower.
Sneakers or sandals?
Ooh. Sneakers.
Hamburger or taco?
I don't eat beef.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have like a fish taco.
There you go. There you go.
Fish taco.
Money or free time? All right. Box and box or ground up project?
I love the ground up projects. I love everything.
Yeah,
I love the
ground up
stuff.
Yeah.
I like this. Yeah.
You like the steel and the exterior panels and the
Well, so in King, we do a lot of site stuff for our clients. We'll help them find sites, evaluate property. That's one of the things a lot at the company. So we've got a couple right now that will, and I love that aspect. I love helping our clients find a piece of land, or even if they have the piece of land, I love helping them do the evaluation process of, is this the right piece of land or the right piece of property? And I mean, I get involved all the way from the economic incentives to some of the governmental stuff. And I just really enjoy that. So that's why I would pick. We do a ton of renovations, but I just, to have a nice meaty project on a piece of virgin ground or something.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are you a cold beer or cold drink guy?
I do not drink beer. I don't like beer at all.
Okay.
And I'm going to change it. As you know, from a couple of weeks ago, red wine is not, but I would definitely, it would be a cold drink over a cold beer. If you're sitting by the pool, then it's going to be a cold, some little, fruity type of drink type of thing. Margaritas, yeah. Actually, frozen what I call frozen tequila right out of the freezer. A little, good stuff.
I like it.
Okay, man. My last one. Are you if you had to choose to listen to one artist the rest of your life on an island, and you only had 2 CDs, in Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake?
Pick either one.
Got to pick.
No, I'm not picking either one of them. So, I graduated high school in 1980, right? And yes, in the early 80s, I had a mullet, because we all did.
They're coming back,
But I'm an 80s guy. So, my favorite band of all time has got to be Van Halen.
Okay.
I literally, when Eddie Van Halen died, I mean, part of me sort of sunk, right?
Yeah.
So no, I would not be, neither one of the Justins. If I had to pick one, I would pick Justin Timberlake over Justin Bieber, but neither one of the Justins. But I want hair bands, and I want, I want 80s rock.
You want some ZZ Top?
Probably just
not a huge ZZ fan, but you're in the right vein. Yeah, you're definitely in the right vein. So that's where I'm. In fact, I'm going to see a concert tonight, as a matter of fact. But we're going to go see Steep Canyon Rangers here in the Charleston area. So still like going to music and going to see a live show every now and then.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time today on Cool Times Podcast. All the listeners, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast as much as we did.
Yes.
We had an awesome time. You guys can find our work on all social media platforms as well: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. And to listen to our show, you can go to Apple Podcast, and you can listen to the podcast anytime you want. And previous shows are all recorded there. And you can watch the video on YouTube. So you can find our work there. Brian, thanks so much, brother. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Enjoyed it. It's been fun. Best of luck. I'll see you guys soon. See you in November.
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Thanks.
Right.
See ya.
Okay.